We are back with our proper equipment. We have downloaded the drone video of Parkwood this week. Last week we went over Parkwood. This week we will also do Parkwood, but accompany it with a drone video and hopefully a relatively smooth operation. The renovation in our house is still, just getting started. We are only 2.5 weeks in, but we've got the equipment that we need, things that we're kind of starting to get in a groove of being nomads. This is live in Fort Collins. We come to you every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we talk to you about things that have happened over the last week, things that are going to be happening over the coming week. And we talk about what the review of the city council meeting that usually happens on Tuesday evenings, things that have been discussed, and then some developments under review for the city of Fort Collins. And then we do a neighborhood tour focus, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes total for this live kind of newscast, informational session about Fort Collins, all things that are happening in Fort Collins. Basically, this is to keep you up to date in what's happening in my community and then a community that a lot of people are moving to across the United States. We are real estate agents, so if you're considering buying, selling, or investing, definitely reach out to us. But without any delay, let's jump into things that have happened over this past week. Specifically, we are talking about more layoffs in Northern Colorado, which a few episodes ago, we are on episode 9. It's amazing how fast this goes. My commitment to you all is 1 year, and then we'll determine if we want to continue this or not. So let me know in the comments if this is worthwhile. But a few weeks ago, we talked about how OtterBox had laid off an undisclosed number of employees in Northern Colorado. And OtterBox is one of our top employers here in Northern Colorado, one of our kind of tech-y, higher paying jobs. And then just in the news over the last couple of days, Woodward had laid off an undisclosed number of employees. But because they are a publicly traded company, there are reports that they have to file if they lay off more than a certain amount, which is more than 500 or a third of their employee base. And neither of those reports had to be filed. So the assumption is at least, and they have, I think, a close to like 8,000 employees. So the assumption is less than 500 people were laid off. I actually talked with an employee of Woodward this morning and discussed, just wanted to make sure that he was safe, his job was secure. He didn't even know that the layoffs happened. What he believes actually happened was because of the contraction of supply chains and the increased demand over the last 12 to 18 months, Woodward had this really quick, explosive hiring phase. And so he feels like maybe it's kind of more of like a balancing act for the company. The stock price did well, so nothing too huge, or hopefully nothing too huge moving forward. So Woodward stay strong, OtterBox stay strong. Employers of Fort Collins, that is our lifeblood. That's the lifeblood of any economy. So any talk about any fears or talks of recession, the first place you look is employment. From there, it's been a very heavy winter. Our snowpacks are, I think the southern basins are a little less than 100%, but otherwise the majority of all of our snowpacks are at like 110 to 150% of annual snowpack. But with that comes, fears of avalanche. We are only, a portion of the way through this winter season, and already we have met our annual average of deaths through Colorado avalanches of 6. Just over the past weekend, there was 2 confirmed dead and I think 1 missing, but we have reached our number of 6. So if you're going up and exploring in the northern Colorado or in Colorado mountains, check to make sure the avalanche danger, it's a scale of 1 to 5, and be prepared with the proper tools and supplies. Plenty of information out there, but definitely it's a sad thing to talk about in the sense of people dying through avalanche, but it is a great thing in the sense of snowpack and drought that we've had in Colorado. So stay safe, but keep coming snow, I guess. From there, the Last of Us. Me and my wife are not big show watchers, but we are watching The Last of Us, and there was kind of this weird nod to CSU, and it looks like it was confirmed that, in fact, it was CSU, that was Eastern Colorado University, and the Bighorns, which are the Rams, were in that show. So kind of cool to see. Today, the Colorado put out that In-N-Out is coming to Northern Colorado. It is confirmed. They bought a building in Loveland. No longer is it going to be in Fort Collins. It is going to be in Loveland, and it's going to be off of I-25 and 34, where near Chick-fil-A is. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, Chick-fil-A has got a crazy long line at lunch. I can only imagine it's in the same shopping center, a decent distance apart. Maybe it'll offload some traffic parking because they go either Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out. But I feel like I'm not a big In-N-Out person, but I love Chick-fil-A. So I feel like you're just going to get a lot more traffic. But exciting news, Fort Collins and Loveland continues to crush it. Got to give credit where credit is due. I know I bag on Loveland more times than not, but Loveland bringing Amazon and a 3 million square foot and 1,000+ employees to their economy, and now landing In-N-Out. So good job, Loveland. What is happening this week is, Dwayne, you the man. Thank you, sir. Sorry, got a good comment. What is happening this week is Fort Collins versus Fossil Ridge in the Great 8 for the 6A state basketball tournament. Pretty exciting, especially because I was a basketball player at Fort Collins High School. Our teams were awful. Probably no thanks, all thanks to me with why they're so awful. But Fort Collins, Fossil Ridge, down at the Denver Coliseum, Saturday at 1:15. Tickets $9 to $12, kid to adult, and also parking is $15. Super exciting. At least one Fort Collins school will be in the Final Four. I am definitely cheering for Fort Collins High School, but I definitely got a lot of good relationships at Fossil Ridge. Coach Johansson has done an amazing job with Fossil Ridge, so good on you. The other thing, we actually have a podcast episode coming out next week that will discuss this a lot more in depth. If you haven't watched the Fort Collins Fellows podcast, go check it out and watch the episode next week that kind of dives into Great Plates. Great Plates started today, goes from March 1st to March 14th. It's $25 basically specials. More than 40 restaurants in Old Town area are participating in this. And essentially the idea is you get a meal, entree, drinks, breakfast for $25, which would have usually cost quite a bit more, anywhere from $50 to $75, maybe even $100. And you take that difference that you would have paid and you donate it to the Larimer County Food Bank. Pretty exciting. We have 14 days, raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not sure if it touches $1 million. I know hundreds of thousands. So Fort Collins continues to do amazing things. This always happens annually on right around that first couple weeks of March, but it is happening now, March 1st through 14th. Check it out. Great Plates. So this kind of is a little bit near and dear to my heart. The city of Fort Collins City Council is talking about rental regulations. A couple of months ago, or maybe a month ago, this kind of got tabled because of the cost, which is like, I'm listening to this work session. I'm just like, it's not even being discussed right now. It was the cost of this rental regulation program that they were putting in place. They're like, how are we going to fund it? And it's going to cost so much more. Where are we going to find these dollars? Well, anyways, it is back on the table kind of through a work session, and they're looking at 3 different options. Registration and improvements to the current system, registration and delayed inspections by about 1 year, or registration and proactive inspections, anywhere cost from $1.1 to $1.6 million. I do want to show you this is, gosh, it's so much smoother than last week. Thank you all for hanging with me last week. But these are the 3 different options that City Council is considering. There's 40% of the Fort Collins population, housing population, are renters. And there's no current really rental regulations or anything along those lines. It is a reactive based. If there is a health and safety issue, City of Fort Collins will come inspect. And at that point, determine what, if anything, that landlord needs to do. But here kind of shows 3 different options that discuss what it's going to cost for landlords, and also the kind of timeline of complaint-based year 1, then every 5 years. And this is something that they are considering. They will go to a first reading here in in a month or so, and determine what, if anything, they are going to do for rental regulations. I would also be curious to hear what your guys' opinions are, questions are about rental regulations, if you're for it, against it, and maybe why. So definitely leave some comments. Speaking about comments, let me take a look. Like I said, Dwayne, you the man. Love me some bald hair or bald head, no hair. Patrick, what is the latest with Whole Foods coming to Centerra South? Is there any developer in NoCo except McQuinney? Seems like they have a monopoly up there. Shoot, McQuinney is a massive developer, but there's a good handful of developers. McQuinney kind of has, lots of things. They just bought, the Foothills Mall in the middle of Fort Collins, but Martin Lind is a massive developer, and Windsor and Water Valley is super lucky to have him. I mean, just some of the projects and scope of projects that he has going on at the Budweiser Event Center and the ranch, definitely super excited to have him. There's also bigger developers like Montava. That's the development name is Montava. The developer, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but it's going to be a massive, massive development. But you are right, McQuinney's, but they are a local family. So I am excited that somebody local is kind of pouring into the Northern Colorado scene, and they're very successful and do seemingly a pretty good job. So they're a big developer. As far as Whole Foods coming to Centerra South, yes, I've heard rumblings, but I don't have any hard data to support that. I can tell you that one of the things that Connor did in one of his recent videos talking about kind of Johnstown is one of the biggest issues in kind of that area is grocery. So it would be very welcomed and needed in that area. Speaking about developments, there wasn't too much happening in the developments under review, no conceptual reviews. There's 2 neighborhood meetings that are happening. One's happening literally right now, Boardwalk Crossing Entertainment Facility and offsite parking. And then the Fort Collins Rescue Mission that's going to be held on tomorrow at Northside between 6 to 7:30 p.m. So those are the only things that are kind of happening in the developments under review. There's a great newsletter that comes out once a week. If you want, I'd be happy to send you a link. Just leave me your email in the comments and I will get you a link to that newsletter. It's definitely something it's good to stay in touch with what's happening, but that's why we do these videos, is to keep you guys abreast of what is happening in our favorite community, Fort Collins, Colorado. Now, today, finally, we are going to do our Parkwood tour. So let's jump into that. And we actually have got it working. Very cool. That was very scary when I was doing that drone video, by the way. I was right on LeMay. But here's Parkwood. Parkwood kind of separates into 2 different areas. You kind of have Parkwood West, where you're going to have a little bit bigger lots, bigger homes. Any homes could truly come in this, could go up to $2 million. But very well will be no lower really than $800,000 to $1 million in kind of the Parkwood West. It's not considered Parkwood West. It's just kind of called Parkwood. Whereas Parkwood East would be a little bit smaller tract type homes built again 70s and 80s. Ooh, getting some speed there. 70s and 80s. Good price points anywhere between $500,000 to up to $800,000. This greenbelt that kind of comes through Parkwood, it just is a really nice entry. Again, Parkwood was built and developed by the Bob Everett, as well as Indian Hills. But this is in the middle of town, about 5 to 7 minute drive to Old Town. If you hit up, if you head down LeMay and then into Old Town, and then south side of town, you're really close as well. Schools here for Parkwood are going to be Riffenburg, Lesher, and Fort Collins High School. You are right next to the Power Trail. Spring Creek Trail is nearby. Adora Park, which is one of the kind of traditional Fort Collins parks, is nearby. And then Epic, Adora Pool and Ice Center. So if you play hockey or you ice skate, this is probably one of the biggest areas. And then a great pool, lap pool here in town. So Parkwood, finally, we get to see some drone video. Definitely a wonderful community and something that if you're considering buying here in Fort Collins, do not discard Parkwood, as it's a great looking subdivision. So thank you very much for hanging with me last week. I'm going to hang around for just a few seconds longer if there's any questions or comments, but definitely feel free, if you're watching this on rerun, to leave a comment and I will get back to it as quickly as we can, me or my team. Again, we are licensed real estate agents in the state of Fort Collins, or state of Colorado, city of Fort Collins. We operate all the way really up to Berthoud and north all the way to Wellington and Red Feather. But appreciate you guys watching this. Is this valuable information for you guys? Do you like this? I definitely want to know. And because I am taking away from my family and my family time, especially when they're on the north side of town and I'm on the south side during this renovation. But I'm having fun, staying extremely invested in my community and love what's going on and being knowledgeable about that. Don't see any questions. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m., live in Fort Collins. See you guys later.